Thank you for joining me as TMI Tuesday, and we're looking at very critical issues about deepening democracy. And if you ask me, how do we ensure that this comes to fusion? How do we make democracy in Nigeria work and become better for it, for the Nigerian citizenry? And we're looking at the legislature and the executive relations, both at the federal and at the state level. And joining me this morning to discuss the very critical, sensitive issue from my extreme left, I have an educationist, president of Association for Education and Development, and the executive director of African Emancipation Movement, Osagie Godsent Erunse. Thank you for coming, Osagie.
Thank you, Phil. Good morning, viewers. My pleasure again.
And also, I have a very great political analyst, erudite, articulate on that, and he's no one else but Neville Obakedo. Neville Obakedo is a lecturer at University of Benin. Thank you for coming.
Good morning, viewers at home, and thank you for having me this morning.
And I have a very nut-cracking civil society activist, erudite also in his capacity, Pastor Leo Olumartin. Thank you for coming. I'm going to shake you and extend it to others.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
I'm going to
Thank you.
Well, they say if we can come together as one and make Nigeria great, we're going to have dividends of good governance. And looking at what we have here, I choose to start with you, Neville Obakedo. Looking at what we have here about the legislature and executive relations. Now, there is this argument that democracy thrives more if there is a banter or healthy rivalry between the organs of government like the executive and legislature. Now, how do we situate this balance looking at the Nigerian story?
Well, the point of departure in assessing this discourse is the concept of democracy, and then the concepts and the functions of the organs of government, the executive and the legislature, and their functions as defined by the Constitution, so that one will be able to appreciate whether this has helped to deepen democracy in Nigeria or otherwise. As I said, democracy origin is traceable to the ancient Greek city-states, but a popular definition that is in the general domain is the one that has been ascribed to former American President Abraham Lincoln, who saw democracy as a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But that's a commonsensical and elementary definition of democracy. Over time, scholars have tried to interrogate the democracy in various parts of the world and have come up with definitions. That democracy is simply a process of choosing leaders who take decisions on behalf of the people. But now, in Nigeria's case, at local government level, at state level, and at federal level. Now we look at the concept of executive. That is, there are three elements of government, or three organs of government. We have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. The legislature is the one that formulates the law, which the executive implement, and which the judiciary interpret. These three arms of government, they are supposed to work to ensure that the interest of the state is promoted. What is the interest of the state? Number one, the security and welfare of the people, as defined in the Constitution, and the welfare of the people. It is when these three organs of government, they work together by complementary effort, that this welfare of the people can be achieved, the security of the people can be achieved. And it is when they perform their functions independently that the concept of democracy or democratic practice can be deepened.
Okay, but the setback we have here in Nigeria, can you say is as a result of poor relations between the executive and the legislature?
Well, Nigeria democracy is still fledgling. In the First Republic, because of the way and manner the politicians conducted themselves, either because of immaturity, the First Republic collapsed. And so there was a military interregnum which lasted from 19 1966 to 1979. Now that period, the Nigerian politicians and Nigerians themselves, who were supposed to be part of the democratic process, they were not part of the military process. That all kinds of character, bravado, repression, and all kinds of things that are not supposed to be associated with the democratic state.
Still featured.
Yeah, now came in. Then the government left. When the military now decided to establish another republic, Second Republic, the politicians of the Second Republic failed to learn from the history or the mistake of the First Republic. They repeated history. Military government came again and started them packing. Until the government of President Ibrahim Babangida said he was going to ensure that there was going to be a strong democratic foundation, which led to the issue of June 12th, and that did not see light of day before this start Fourth Republic. Right now, politicians are still learning, and I hope that they will learn and save this country from the crisis that the country is facing from left, right, and center. Okay. It is because of self-interest or selfish interest, sectional interest, regional interest, that the politicians seems not to have learned from history.
Okay, thank you. I'll pause with you. Leo Olumatet, we have this night assembly already inaugurated, and the executive at the center happens to be very, very dogged in terms of bringing about good dividends, as in good governance. Now, what do you make of the night assembly in these relations with the executive to make this work?
Well, thank you very much. Again, I should thank you and your team, the ITV crew, for always bringing very topical issues on board, because I like to quote my favorite philosopher, Patrick Henry, wherein he said that the collective freedoms of you and I cannot be guaranteed except the actions and inactions of government is brought to fore. That's why they say the media is the fortune of the estates, because once something is brought into the open, government is put under pressure, and then government must act appropriately, as in the case of the just nearly abandoned, Ruga, controversy. So we must thank the media for that. Let me adopt into the introduction of Neville in defining democracy, except to add that democracy has a twin sister or a twin brother, as the case may be. Because I'm trying to be gender sensitive, I'll say democracy has a twin sister, and that is the rule of law. Because Patrick Henry said that the government and the criminals are not different. The only difference with government and the criminals is that we use the law and the constitution to hold the government to ransom. Otherwise, if there are no law, there's no process, there's no constitution, the government will not be different from the criminal, because the government will not become a legitimate criminal. It is based on the rule of law that people set out to say there are three arms of government. It was Bill Clinton that said that democracy is not the best form of government, but we have not found a better form of government. In fact, there are those who have postulated that a benevolent dictator or some kind of a democratic monarchy may be better for nations, and that is postulations and philosophies that are still being thrown here and there. But we were told that the executive arm of government they are the decision makers. They formulate policy that makes life better for us, and that's why I'm interested in politics. Because those who say they are not interested in politics, politics is interested in them, because the quality of life that you live today is a function of politics and policy. There are areas today where they haven't had electricity for months and for days. Yes. It's a function of governance, it's a function of politics, it's a function of policy. And that's why I go to vote. Because like he said, democracy is a process whereby we elect a set of people to govern the rest of us. Unfortunately, it looks like in Nigeria, we have the worst of people presiding over the best of people. Because the criteria for leadership in this part of the world, when you look at what happens in other parts of the world, and the kind of leaders that they are producing, then you wonder where we're going from here. But the imbroglio that we have currently is because people have not departed from a military mentality. Over the years, we have been governed more by the military than we have been governed by civilians. And if you hear military language, they even have the audacity, the temerity to look at you and call us bloody civilians. All right? You look at this part, you look at this country, even when you see the military today, you know that the military is not loyal to you and I. They're loyal to the regime, because it looks like there's another arm of government. Our power Comedians joke with it and say, if military slap you, you will know that police is your friend. It's an aberration, all right? Because some of the actions of the military is an aberration. Because today you go to, when there's petrol crisis, it's fuel crisis, the military just drive and nobody can say anything. They act with impunity.
So you see that still being featured under the democratic system.
Handed over to us, because Neville said something like that.
Yes.
They handed over to us. So we're still very military.
Dominant features.
Yeah, we're still very military in our thinking. That's why you can see a senator can have the temerity to slap a civilian, because he doesn't understand that this is a democracy, and it is democracy and the rule of law. Government, thank God now that in this new dispensation, government people appointed into office are becoming more civil, and that's why you see a commissioner, for instance. Because I've come to this place sometimes, and you see a commissioner enter into this place, and he comes with his police orderly standing right beside him. In your waiting room in ITV, you see that kind of a commissioner has not departed. He thinks that we're still in a police state. That's why people act the way they act. But we must now begin to hold people accountable. This ninth assembly, fortunately for the APC, they have everything intact. Unlike in the 8th assembly, the speaker and most of the majority leader, the chief whip, they're all APC members. And they're not just APC members, they are the product of consensus decision of the party. The Senate president is also whom the party desired to be Senate president. So in this particular instance, there won't be any need for a rift or a rancorous interaction between the president and the National Assembly. However,
but do you love this development?
It's a welcome development, because, again, like Neville said, the federal government consists of the judiciary. The federal government consists of the legislative, the National Assembly. The federal government consists of the executive arm of government. But anytime the military takes over, the arm of government that suffers is National Assembly. So we're not used to having a National Assembly that cautions and conditions the president. So in this particular instance, even though we ask that there should be a rancorous relationship, it doesn't mean that the House of Assembly, the National Assembly, will be a lackey or a lame dog, or, like we say, a rubber stamp, National Assembly, because the executive arm of government, like we are taught in simple social studies, are the influencers. They're the ones we see.
Okay.
The president talks to us. We don't expect that any president will talk to us. The president talks to us. The president gives us direction. So we're more used to them. So they have a tendency to be rascally in their behavior. That is where the National Assembly, checkmates them. And then when they are unsatisfied with the actions or inactions of the National Assembly, they go to judiciary, for interpretation, just like it happens in developed society. So I expect that this federal government, consisting of the 3 arms of government, will do a needs assessment of the Nigerian people, and they will work in tandem with each other to deliver the much touted or the much overdue dividends of democracy.
Thank you. I like the way you situated that. Now, to you, Osagie Godsent. Leo Olumaten's made mention of some kind of features, like what Neville Obakede also said, military style, and then the party featuring its interest and really manifesting in the positions in the National Assembly, for instance. Some believe that executive dominance, party control of the legislature could also bring about a negative manifestation. What do you make of this development as relates to the Ninth Assembly?
All right, let me begin by saying that if you look at Nigeria as a nation from history, you discover that, like my colleagues have said, the military regime, although it's past, but somehow it's just like a change of attire. It's still in the blood of the average Nigerian, and we are just beginning to learn how to detach ourselves from that influence. And if you look at the dominant political party, right from the era of the PDP to the APC and what have you, you'll notice that even the internal democracy has also been militarized. That's the reason why many times you notice that there is no healthy internal democracy. Because what you have is when you see a lawmaker trying to make law But instead of consulting the people, he's consulting his party. You know, that's the reason why over the years, my problem, what I've always said in different platforms is three. The problem of Nigeria, I've not been able to break out of these three problems, which is self-interest, party interest, and national interest. We've not been able to interpret where these three comes in. You know, a lot of times, what we see our representatives doing is turning the line of party interest or personal interest over the interest of the people. You know, the National House of Assembly, which constitutes of the legislators, have the primary duty of consulting with the people. That's even the reason why we have town hall meetings. It is expected that from time to time, these honorable legislatures, either at state or federal, national level, are supposed to have cause to return back to their people, find out what they think about different policies, how their mind is working about certain laws or certain issues that are still on the floor of the National Assembly. But what we have had over time is a situation where legislators are more loyal to their party and to their self-interest above national interest.
Okay, do you seem to suggest that you don't welcome or you don't enjoy this recent development where the National Assembly, for instance, is a manifestation, like some say, of party decision?
Let me say that...
as it applies to the leadership.
Fine. The only reason why we have problem with it is because if you look at the near history, not so far history of the Nigeria legislature, you'll notice that when a party, I am, as a person, I'm not so comfortable considering the fact that it's like a landslide for one political party, both at the national and the state. You know, why did I say so? Like I said some time ago, I have reasons not to have confidence to some extent. The reason is in this present National Assembly. The reason is because what we have seen over time is a tussle between two parties in the National House of Assembly. And a lot of times, it points to the party leadership. Now, this so-called party wants their leaders to stand on this decision when it comes to lawmaking. Okay? It's not about what the legislators think is right. It's not about what they think the people want. It's what they think the party and the party leadership want. Now, when it becomes a one-sided victory, you know, a landslide victory in the different House of Assembly, I become more worried because I have a lot of reasons to suspect that we are likely going to see a rubber stamp assembly, you know, an House of Assembly that is more likely going to take decisions or make laws after consulting with their party leader. That's the reason why I say we run this nation and this state like running a party system, not like with the concept of nationhood. Because in nationhood, there are times, now granted, I'm not trying to say that you must not have party interest or personal interest. But one of the things I've always liked to ask the politicians in our country is that there's no limit to this interest. You know, and a lot of times we see party interest and personal interest overriding national interest. Okay. Even when the mood and the citizenry that you represent says no to this, we tend to see a situation where the military spirit comes in. Is what my party wants, is what I want, because of what I'm envisaging in the next election. And that's exactly what we've seen over the years. And that's my worry about this night assembly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That leads us to the point where we look at the state 7th House of Assembly, Edo State 7th House of Assembly, and the inauguration, Neville Obakedo. You are a political analyst. Now, looking at how all of this came about, some also believe that party dominance from the center, external influence, could also be giving rise to the crisis.
The particular topic that you have just brought in now is a topic that
I don't know the topic. I only asked you a question
leading
to the relations between the legislature and the executive
now.
Without external influence.
It's a question that I've tried to dodge for a very long time. But now that I'm in the public domain and the whole world is watching, I will answer the question. One, there are allegations and counter-allegations about the constitutional function that the governor was supposed to carry out concerning the National Assembly in terms of...
concerning the House of Assembly?
Yes, House of Assembly. In terms of issuance of a proclamation letter. There is also the issue of how the House was constituted, the time they sat, and leaders of the House were elected. And there are issues that are pending before the court on this matter. So let me, as a public affairs analyst, let me answer the question. I will not answer the question as somebody that have any political leaning. Number one, the governor is said to have communicated a letter to the clerk as defined by the Constitution. And the clerk has acted on the letter. Now, the House is constituted and leaders are elected. The first issue is this. Was such a letter ever communicated by the governor to the clerk? If yes, did the clerk also carry out his own constitutional function to reach out to all elected members of the House of Assembly so that they can come for the inauguration? If the answer is no, that the clerk received the letter and did not let all members know because of the crisis, internal crisis in APC, then there is cause for worry there, number one. Number two, if the House actually convened at a nocturnal hour, then there is an issue there.
Okay, but this is just to guide this argument or this discussion in order for us to have a good relationship between the legislature and
yes,
the
yeah.
Now, we may not have time to
my comments are on how
transpired.
to, yes, my comments.
Let's situate
Yes.
dominance or seemingly dominance of the party at the national level, because there's this issue about National Working Committee, and basically as we speak, the court has given a restraining order that the IGP, the national chairman of APC and others should not interfere in the legislative business of the State House of Assembly. But how do you situate this?
Yes. I cannot say anything about the order of the court without without delivering my statement on this issue. That is my thoughts that are related with law. Now, if the meeting that led to the inauguration of the House and the elected and the membership, the election of the leaders of the House was done in a nocturnal hour, I said there's an issue there, because in the case of Peter Obi and the Anambra State House of Assembly, they met at a nocturnal time and took a decision to remove the speaker, I beg your pardon, to remove the governor, to impeach the governor, and they made the deputy governor, Virginia Etiaba, Etiaba, as the governor. The former governor of Anambra State, that is the impeached governor then, went to court, and the matter ended at the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court said that no House of Assembly, no National Assembly should hold meeting at nocturnal hour. But if that was what happened in the case of this House of Assembly, because I was not there to know the time they met and the House was inaugurated and the leaders were elected, if that was what happened, the leadership of the APC at the national level cannot issue a statement to say, go and issue another proclamation and reconstitute the House or re-inaugurate the House. The Inspector General of Police cannot just come and say, I want to seal up the House, because the governor has performed his constitutional function, allegedly so.
Okay.
Now, any person who is not satisfied, if it is national party that is not satisfied, if it's the police that is not satisfied, maybe this will lead to breakdown of law and order. The next thing is to approach a court of competent jurisdiction to void what may have happened that is against the law with concrete evidence. That is by the way. Now, the matter is now before court, to the extent that the IGP, national leadership of the party, have been restrained from intervening or trying to interfere with the processes of the court. It means a motion of notice has been served on the party leadership and the police, and the matter will now commence in court. Okay. So it is the court that will resolve this matter. But as I said earlier, this crisis that we are seeing is crisis of APC, crisis of leadership, crisis of power play. And I watched traditional rulers of Edo State the other day. They went to the office of the president to visit the president. And they tabled a request before the president that there is a crisis between the governor of this state and the national chairman of APC. And they were pleading with the president to come and intervene. Oba Atokpeye, and I watched that it was the Oba of Benin that made that request on behalf of the traditional rulers. It shows that the traditional leadership of the state, they are particularly pained by the dimension. Okay. Now,
thank you.
I also heard the governor say that he does not have a rift with the national chairman of the party. The question that I'm humbly asking now, who is now lying now? Is it the leadership of the traditional rulers of Edo State?
Well, we can't get those questions answered.
Yes.
All you've said can't be addressed here.
But it cannot be addressed because
we can only give a charge.
And we're talking about executive-legislature relationship.
Yes, we can only give a charge on the need not to have external influences interrupting in the business of the legislature.
Let me
I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Developing this and the need for us to have a legislature, a 7th House of Assembly in the state that will be free from rancor in all of this. What's your charge?
Well, rancor is part of governance. Politics is about crisis and consensus. That's what it's about. We disagree to agree, you know, and I'm not, what is happening in Edo State is not to be unexpected. The governor of any state must have interest in how the House of Assembly is constituted.
Must have interest.
He must have interest. And how he demonstrates his interest is a different ball game entirely. Because if you do not have interest, what does it take for the House of Assembly to impeach you? As in the case of Ladoja versus Adedibu, the big man Amala politics of Oyo State in Ibadan. So if you don't have interest as to what is, how people emerge, the leadership of your House of Assembly, they will worry you. You remember, way back in school, what Professor Agarida said, the man fell down from his horse. His cap fell to the left. His head fell to the right. He must only pick one. If he picks the cap, there's no head to put it on. So he must pick his head, because if he picks his head, then he can stay alive. In this particular case, what has transpired is the fact that whatever is transpiring at the state level, and like he said, what the other been into. So what it means that there's a crisis. The governor has maintained that it is not personal, it is political. It's a political battle, it's a battle for supremacy. But we also know that in this state, Zakwano Garuba was removed from office in a Gestapo manner, orchestrated by one of the parties now who are supposed to be at each other's jugular, who then was governor of Edo State. And like Neville said, I like his preamble in his opening speech. He said, if this is this, if this is this, if this is
yes,
that.
yes.
If we follow the legality, because I watched Washington Yosifo and Jefferson Wogiri at national television, where Washington Yosifo said he agrees that the House has been constituted, but that the majority of them who had addressed the press conference prior to that time were deliberately excluded.
Okay,
I'm not privy.
So there will be need for any reproclamation.
No, I'm not privy yet, because on legal terms. But I also watched I watched Barrister Abraham of Yahweh and the same Jefferson Iwogene on this your platform, where of Yahweh talked about the morality and the culture of having a robust inauguration of the House, which has been the practice. But in terms of law, most legal minds have agreed that what the governor did in terms of law is legal. It may deviate in terms of practice, in terms of the culture of having fanfare in inauguration, but it's in terms of it being legal. Most people have agreed that it is legal. And that's why nobody's approaching the court. The other party is not approaching the court over the inauguration, otherwise they will have run to the court. But let's look at external influence. I remember in this state some 8 years or so ago, the nooks and crannies of this state were dotted with huge billboards saying no to Godfatherism. At least I graduated from school, so I was lettered enough to read it. And then one man, one vote. What it means is that what happens in Rome should stay in Rome. At any rate, Edo State is a sovereign state. We run a federal system of government, in which case the federating units ceded power to the federal government. And that's why the federal government doesn't own any land. All the land in Edo State is held by the governor on behalf of the people. So if the governor is the chief security of the state and is the chief executive of the state, I do not understand where a national party chairman wants to interfere in what has happened. At any rate, you have been governor. When you were governor, you didn't tolerate Godfatherism. Many of the people who were quote and unquote touted as your godfather, who brought you into office, many of them were pushed aside, and then you took the whole pot of soup that was cooked for you to come and eat. And if you are fine that you don't want a godfather, why do you want to constitute yourself into one? And I mean, consensus added them with what Barrister Matthew Edagasi said, that godfatherism is dead in Edo State. I'm not the one who said so. Okay. They said it years ago, that say no to godfatherism. So I am joining who said it. I don't know who said it to, but I'm also joining the person who said it at that time to say, we say no to godfatherism. Let the man, because again, let me quickly end up by saying, at the federal level, when the president emerges, he becomes the political anchor upon the tutti capi of the party. He's the leader of the party as the president of the country. How come you now have at the state level where the governor ideally is the president in court of that his state? He now emerges and then he must defer to a godfather. So if the president is the leader of the party at the national level, the governor should also be the leader of the party at the state level. After all, what is good for the pregnant woman is also good for the man that gave her, the pregnancy. So we can't twist. I'll come back to you. Let's look at your narrative. Got it.
Let me come in from this point. You see, what is happening in the State House of Assembly is laughable. The reason why I said so is because if you look at the torso so far, I've been trying to pick out what is really the basis of the grievance. I've read everything that have been said by various party weights, statesmen of this state. What is the basis of the grievance? What is the basis of the torso? You are not alleging the governor of anti-party activities. There is no saying that the governor is corrupt. What you keep on saying is the leaders of the party are not happy. That is what I've heard almost every leader says. Even one of the leader, let me not just mention him, said when the governor came into power, they took the list of what they wanted as leaders to the past governor. And the past governor had to tell them, I'm not the one in charge any longer. You need to meet the new governor. Now, the backdrop of this crisis is the fact that those needs were met. We are still yet to know those needs. The point is this. We still have to go back to personal interest. We still have to go back to the fact that some people believe that because they are party leaders, they own the state, they should monopolize the system, and which is not fair. Because there was a time in this state, just a few years ago, like Reverend Leo was saying, we had no more for the godfathers. It was everywhere, and everybody applauded the then administration of Comrade Adams Oshiomhole because we were tired of the fact that some so-called godfathers were sucking and milking the system. And just again, few years back, we all saw how the State House of Assembly, there was a crisis of this nature, and some members of the State House of Assembly was relocated to the government house. In the disguise of the roof of the State House of Assembly was pulled off. There was a makeup that there was renovation going on, but we all knew what was going on, that it was a power tussle. So what the advice is this: the APC leadership have to come down to the round table and sort out their crisis. Because it may be funny to say, but it's the truth, that they are giving power more to the opposition. Because let me just say that this state, if you look at previous election, you will notice that it has not been so one-party minded. There have always been situations where it's either this party takes it or that takes it. So when a situation like this comes up and it becomes a national issue, the people are watching. And one of the things I want to say to our fathers in the political sector is that politics of the year 2000 is not the same politics of 2019. There is an awareness. People are getting to know what is going on. You can't bottle up the people for so long. Neither can you deceive the people for too long. Now, what I want to say is this. If a man crime is that he's not extrajudicious or spending beyond boundaries, how verifiable, credible is such crimes? You and I are aware that the taste of politicians are insatiable. Okay. No matter what you do for politicians, there will always be a call for more. Okay. So part of the question we want to ask is this government popular among the people? Which quite a number of us will say, yes, he is. So why not give him a chance? He must own his state. He must own his party.
Okay, let's look at, thank you, Osage. Let's look at going forward.
Now, we have 12 members electorally inaugurated, and we have another 12 yet to come to the House. What's your charge, Nebilo Bakedo, to bring about this beauty of having a robust legislation for members to really come for the inauguration?
First and foremost, I agree that the governor of a state is the #1 leader of the party in that state. And these are enshrined in the various political parties' constitutions.
Okay.
As a leader, you are not a leader that is hanging the balance in the sky like a balloon. You are a leader of a people. And I watched the governor when, after the House of Assembly election in Edo State, he organized an interdenominational service, Thanksgiving, at New Era College, where all elected members of the Edo State House of Assembly were present. I had the belief that before they were present in that meeting, the governor wrote to them personally, invited them for the meeting, for the Thanksgiving. I also believe that the governor of the state has the phone number of each and every member of the House of Assembly. I also know the politics and horse trade that go into constitution of House of Assembly or National Assembly. The case of the National Assembly, the 7th Assembly, or the 8th Assembly, that Olumatis made reference to just now.
Okay, the 9th Assembly?
Yes.
The current
no, the 8th Assembly.
Okay, the 8th Assembly, okay.
Where the party insisted that APC was going to produce the current president as Senate president, was going to produce Gbajabiamila as the speaker. They made that statement without following it up with the behind-the-scene movement, calls, meetings, visitations, even at nocturnal hours, to make sure they control the House, even reaching out to opposition to help them to control the leadership. APC at that time failed. Now, after that Thanksgiving, or even before the Thanksgiving, I expected the governor, I don't know whether I did that, to reach out individually to House of Assembly members. You know, I made a statement that day that with the 24/24, you were going to help me to succeed as governor. Now, sell ideas to me, how you help me to succeed as governor. They will sell ideas to him. He will go and fight-tune with his own kitty cabinet. If he has done that,
well, good to know that you said you expected.
Yes.
And if.
Yes.
These are conditional.
Yes, they are conditional. And
we don't have answers to that.
It's not late for him to do so.
Yes.
It's not late for him to do so.
But let's look at the way forward.
Yes.
That's what I'm looking at.
It's part of the way forward I'm talking about.
Now, the charge for other members who have not been inaugurated.
Yeah,
so that we can have
the charge for other members who have not been inaugurated is dialogue. Is meeting, is regard. Are you getting it? So the governor should, even if people are advising him, just forget about them. Even if there are 4 people, so long as they can phone code or they work for you. No, as a leader, as an educated leader, as a man who has traveled far and wide, who is experienced. I've read some of the write-ups of the governor in terms of leadership, and I know that he has the requisite leadership skills to be able to deliver the House of Assembly just now from the crisis that is facing, which has its offshoot from the crisis within the party. Now, if people are saying that leaders are saying, bring money for us to share, blah, blah, I hear people say that because the governor said, leaders say you should bring money. Who are the leaders that say you should bring money? First thing to do as a governor, there must be, before you're coming, certain things on ground, like committees, like boards, like governing councils that were there before. The first thing to do to engage your leaders of your party is to go and check, like for example, Edo State Civil Service Commission. Is the tenure of the members, is it over? You appoint your party leaders into that board. Okay. You go and check Worcester Polytechnic. Do they have a governing council? You appoint your leader there. It's not until you give them money. When you appoint them into such position, they are going to be getting something on a monthly basis. Then you constitute committee. If you see the rowdiness and the dirtiness of the city, if there were to be, for example, environmental committee or even environmental commission with a committee that works around some of the things that we experience here, we don't be experiencing them. Look at the other day, the commissioner said they are going to use color code, drivers, and the rest of them. After some time, they abandon it. If there were to be a committee made up of party members, Nobody will be talking of they say you come and share money. Okay. Those people will have a sense of belonging. Okay. They will work for the government.
You made mention of dialogue.
Yes,
and I want to believe that
dialogue and engagement
forward.
of party leaders can resolve this problem.
Okay, recently,
so that
as we round off, Leo Martins,
yes,
recently we had this, the state government reporting over alleged unscrupulous persons trying to disguise in form of as in politicians to bring in ammunitions to the state. And we don't know if it's related to the House of Assembly issues. But what do you see as this development and the need for us to situate a healthy rivalry between the legislature and the executive away from the external influences?
Thank you. Act of the Apostles 3:19. And I don't intend to preach. I just want to use to buttress a point. The Bible says the days of ignorance, God has overlooked. The days of banditry, the days of thuggery, where known thugs held sway and celebrated that they have arrived financially, billions of naira, at the expense of the Edo people. Those days have come and gone. However, it was a philosopher that said the price we pay for freedom is eternal vigilance. So you and I, the media as the third realm of the estate, fourth realm of the estate, must continue to put pressure to ensure that there's external vigilance. Because Edo State does not belong to a minority. Edo State belongs to you and I. It doesn't matter whether you are from Akoko Edo, whether you are from Langpese, whether you are from Ibilo, Ekpoma, Unwude. It belongs to, and we have equal stake in ensuring that this state moves forward. One. Number two, I haven't agreed with Neville on a lot of, most of the time that we appear here, but I'm in consensus at the dam with his thought, this morning. Maybe it's because of the same tea that two of us drank before we came from maybe that's why we're thinking alike, in this particular regard. And he made a point in saying that the leadership of the party, because I don't quite want to talk about the governor, because this is squarely a House of Assembly matter. Even though we know that when a bird is playing on the street, the person who is drumming the drum is far inside. So this is not just a crisis of leadership in the House of Assembly. It's a crisis of interest, because somebody has interest that this is who I want to be Speaker of the House. Somebody else has interest and say this is who I want to be Speaker of the House.
Okay, but don't you see calm being restored just now? Because as long as, like you said, that even the seemingly opposition is not even facing the court.
No, when I say seemingly, I'm talking about the opposition within the party. I'm not talking about opposition. Now, there are a few people who have, like the prodigal son, realized that in my father's house, at least in the House of Assembly and the legislative quarters, there is air condition, there are laundry services, there's official car. So like the prodigal son, they say, it's not, let me not be where I'm hustling, let me be where somebody. So the three of them have realized and they have come. I must give kudos to them. We must appeal to the remaining 12 of them to follow suit, because as it stands now, 12 constituencies don't have representation at the House of Assembly.
That's worrisome.
Yes, and that's worrisome. I'm happy that my constituency has a representative there. So I can, if I have a need, I can send, my request to him. However, the state party chairman has a job to do, because this is an APC House of Assembly. So Anselm Ojo must begin, if he's not doing so, he must reach out, because he is the state party chairman of both those who have been inaugurated and those who have not yet been inaugurated. The now Speaker of the House of Assembly, Honorable Frank Okiye, must not sit down at his desk and say, I am a Speaker. Because the only way to stay on a bicycle is to keep riding. The day you stop riding, you fall off the bicycle. So he must also use the instruments. Now he has an office. The office is influential. He must use the instrument of influence in relation, in tandem with the governor, to reach out to aggrieved parties. And I must tell you, there are some people that they can never be reached out to. As long as the crisis within so touted, now the national party chairman and the governor of the state persists, there are some people that you will not reach out to. Because some people, their loyalty is almost to the grave. It is whatever that leader says that they will consent to. It's whatever the governor says that they will consent. So there are some people that will not be, that cannot be reconciled because they are, how do you expect, for instance, the man who represents the constituency of the governor, who is the governor's younger brother? How do you expect, I mean, the man who represents the constituency of the National Party chairman, who is the National Party chairman younger brother? If anybody will come to the state to take the oath, he probably will be the last person, although there's nothing that is impossible. But we must now advise everybody that when you got into office, you didn't get into office to represent yourself. You are member House of Assembly representing a particular constituency. And like my brother said, what is your constituency saying? Do your constituency support your staying away and not going to be inaugurated? If my own representative, Marcus Onobun, didn't go to be represented, I probably would have mobilized people to begin to orchestrate for his recall. At any rate, it's even difficult to recall a member-elect, because as it stands today, Edo State only has 12 House of Assembly members. The rest of them are members-elect. They are not yet members of the House of Assembly. Let's think Edo first before we start thinking our personal lives. If we think Edo first, we will forget about the trumpeters and the drummers. We will use our own independent mind and act in a way that benefits the constituency that we represent.
Okay, I want your comment on the aspect of the Security Council, the state government, and making.
I said it before that the commissioner of police in Edo State, beyond the people who are harassing us, and I said it on the platform, are harassing us on the way, roadblocks everywhere. Sometimes the traffic is long, and then you see some police officer. I saw one the other time. I said I won't shake. He said, why? Because look at you now. You don't represent the police officer now. Your trousers is dirty. Your shoes are not polished, and you are an usher. You are a national usher. You are the first person that tells a foreigner how a police officer should look like. So, but having said that, the police must keep vigilant. The governor, being the chief security officer of the state on paper, must also keep vigilant. That's why I began by saying that the price for freedom is eternal vigilance. The media must be on the spot all the time. And thank God for your reporters who got across the 18 local governments. They must work in tandem with civil society organizations who must keep their eyes in front and ensure that any movement, like Neville will say, at any nocturnal time that we are suspicious, they will not benefit, the top. At any rate, is that Iran, there's a place where they put bookstores in the open in Iran. They don't lock it, it's in the open. And they ask them to say, why don't they secure the books? Because they say thieves don't read. And those who read don't steal. It is the same thing too. There are people who are educated and who know themselves will not carry guns.
Thank you.
And people who carry guns probably didn't go to school.
Thank you. I take that as your submission on this show. Thank you for pulling through on this. Well, let's look at the charge for members-elect and the whole issue as we round off. Your final words.
Let me quickly say that for me, the government-led administration of Governor Obaseki may have some loopholes, but popularly speaking, I think he has done fairly well. And I want to charge him to remain focused, especially in his educational drive. And I want to say that the members-elect that have refused to be inaugurated or come up for inauguration should have a rethink. Because at the end of the day, it is not just the two main players that you are reacting against, or one of them. It is the people that elected you. As it stands now, like what Reverend was saying, there are some local governments that are not being represented.
Okay, but again, reports have it where some of them said that even staying in the state is not safe for them. And so they are scared of coming to the state for the legislative business. What do you make of that?
They have a constitutional right. Beside that, we have the Inspector General of Police, we have the Commissioner of Police, so that, if the custodians of the law says they are not safe, they should know where to head for or where to go to. For me, is blowing the matter out of proportion to say you are running away from the state because you feel you are not safe. I also want to say to the two main players that they should they should shift sides. Because there's a popular saying from the Bible that a house divided against itself cannot stand. The APC is not going to go into the 2020 election with this kind of crisis, because the Edo State House of Assembly is a very sensitive arm of the government. You know, they have to shift swords. And I want to say categorically clear that we must also realize that the opposition are watching, except you don't value the fact that this is now an APC state, because they are going to look for your loopholes and capitalize on that. You know, it is about time that this, the main people, because I know that if the national party chairman gives an order, there will be total compliance. You know, I also want to appeal to the national party chairman. You are the one that propagates no godfatherism. You are the one that says no to the imperialism leadership lifestyle. You are the one that said no, the people's voice must speak. We want all the honorable members of the House of Assembly to be back and to represent the state. You can sort out your scores behind the scene. The people do not have to suffer for it.
Thank you.
Because of two persons' interests.
Okay,
that's my take on it.
Thank you. Neville Obakero,
Thank you.
your final words.
My final words is that the governor of Edo State, as the leader of the state, the chief security officer of the state, a man that has the welfare of the people at heart, he cannot achieve that alone without working with the party that brought him to power and his leadership, cannot do that alone without working with all the local government chairmen and councillors of the state that are all APC. He cannot do that without a full House of Assembly. So whatever is responsible for the crisis is aware. He should put a machinery in motion. I volunteer myself as a machinery to accompany him to anywhere he's going for a resolution of this crisis. I will follow him.
Okay.
So that is my contribution, and I wanted those state people to be very vigilant in their various communities, because Nigeria as a state is facing security crisis, and now that we're having some intra-party politics, people can actually cash in on that to come and wreak havoc on the state, and they will not be placing the blame on the elements maybe they are not agreeing. All right, at the very moment.
Thank you.
So the police should be up and doing. They should do their job and make sure that identified criminals are brought to book.
Okay, thank you, Neville Obakero, and I must say big thanks to you, Leo Olumatins. Thank you again for that.
Sir.
And of course,
I'll pass it on again.
Yes. Thank you, Osagi Godsent. Well, there's much we can take on the discussion. Has been robust, and I believe you have this idea also, the opinion that it was healthy. And for us to move the state forward, there's need for synergy. There's need to really look at the efforts so far made by the progressive to bring about an end to the strife that's seemingly present within the party. But the opportunities that are available and the efforts of the government, state government so far, to make sure that is able to take charge of all of these issues really bring to bear the need for us to call on the other members-elect to really come for the inauguration. Well, this is much going to take. It's still this morning on ITV.